Let's talk about the management of time. Jot this one down on time management. The time you've already committed to labor is enough time. If you're working already 8-10 hours a day, that's about it. You just can't work much more than that. So you don't have to put any more hours, probably. All you have to do is just make better use of the hours. A cliche we've all heard. It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put in the hours that counts. Now also you need a written set of goals, time management essential.
The core of time management, the axle around which the wheel of life turns, is goals. What are your goals? What is it that you want to be or to have or to do? What is it that you want to accomplish in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? The top 3% in every field have goals. The balance of the population have either very vague goals or no goals at all. I wrote an article for a major publication not long ago which said that if you do not have clear goals for your life, you are condemned forever to work for those who do. You see, in life it's very simple. Either you are working toward the accomplishment of your goals or you're working toward the accomplishment of other people's goals. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who am I? Where am I going? What do I want to accomplish? And there are 3 major areas of goals that you have to think about. The first is your personal and your family goals. What do you want to accomplish for yourself and for your family? Write them down. Define them clearly. The second set of goals that you have to ask is your business, your career, your financial, your material goals. What is it that you want to accomplish in the external world? Where do you want to make your contribution? The third type of goals you have to ask about are your self-development goals. And in my estimation, your ability and your willingness and your tenaciousness in developing yourself is the key to accomplishing everything else. So here's 3 questions that you can ask. The first question is, what would you do? What would you set as a goal for yourself? What would you want to be or have if you just won $1 million in the lottery? What would you do if you just won $1 million? If you had all the time and money, you're completely free to decide to do anything you wanted. If you won $1 million, what would you do differently? Think about that. Hold that in your mind. The second question is, what would you do if you just learned today that you only had 6 months to live? What if you only had 6 months to live? What would you stop doing? What would you do more of? Who would you spend time with? Now, the answer to that question is very interesting because what it tells you is what you really value. What is really important to you? And what we have found is that self-esteem, satisfaction, happiness in life comes from getting your goals and your activities congruent with your values, with your priorities, with what you consider to be really important. Now, here's the third question. The third question is, what one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? Because sometimes answering that question will tell you the one thing that you've been put on this earth to accomplish. One final point with regard to goals is that goals must be in writing. You must write them down. You must rewrite them. The top 1% of successful people in every area have very clear, specific, written goals. And most of them carry their goals around with them. So let's go from goals as the core of success to point number 2.
Learning to separate majors from minors. Making sure you don't spend major time on minor things. Little phrase I have says, don't mistake movement for achievement. It's not that difficult to get busy. What you have to do is check, see what you're busy on. Because it's easy to haul out the trash and fix the screen door, get the car washed. I mean, it's easy to stay busy, right? The key is on what?
The biggest single problem in human life is setting priorities, determining what is relevant and what is irrelevant. And in setting priorities, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto in 1895 came up with a principle which is called the Pareto Principle. We call it the 80-20 rule. It says that 80% of the value of what you do will be contained in 20% of the things that you do. What does this mean? It means if you make a list of 10 things that you have to do today, you will find that 2 of those things are worth all of the others put together. Now, the difference between highly effective people, as Vilfredo Pareto said, was that highly effective people work on the vital few versus the trivial many. The difference between the two is that ineffective people work on the trivial many. They work on things that are fun. They work on things that are easy. They work on little tasks, fun tasks, irrelevant tasks, but they keep putting off and delaying working on their major tasks. So the key to success is always be asking this question: what is the most valuable use of my time right now? I'm convinced that if all you did was organize your life and only work on the most valuable use of your time, that alone would be enough to increase your productivity, your performance, your profitability, your rewards by 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50%. So always before you begin, ask yourself, is this the most important thing I could be doing? Does this give me the highest payoff? Is this the most valuable use of my time? Now here is one simple test with regard to value. Ask yourself, in approaching any task, is what impact will the accomplishment of this task have on my future? The futurity of decisions is the key to measuring the value. Most people spend as much as 80% of their time dealing with the problems and difficulties of the past, and only 20% dealing with the opportunities of the future. But successful people are always saying, what impact will this have on the future? Important tasks will always have an impact on the future. Unimportant tasks will only have an impact on the present and maybe even the past. So I say, what is the most valuable use of my time right now, and what impact will this have on tomorrow, the next day, and the future? It's one of the key ways to keep on track with regard to priorities.
Next time management essential is concentration. You got to keep your mind concentrated. I have a little rule that says, don't start the business day till you get to the office. I used to start my business day in the shower or at the breakfast table, and it just messed up a lot of things. I'm sitting at the breakfast table, guess where my mind is? At the office. I even got mixed up going to the beach and, do some relaxing time. But sure enough, when I'm in the office, I'm thinking about the beach. And when I'm on the beach, I'm saying I should be at the office. Now see, that's mixed up. We quoted that little quote from the Reader's Digest in the evening seminar, right? Wherever you are, be there. If you're at the breakfast table, be there. When you're having a conversation with somebody, be there. When you're on your way to work, be there. Enjoy the ride. Take a look around you. What's going on? Study human nature. What's happening? Be there.
Learning how to concentrate is absolutely essential to success. As a matter of fact, it is impossible for you to accomplish anything worthwhile in life without the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on one thing at a time and stay with it until it's complete. In fact, time and motion studies have shown that if you start a task and you put it down and you come back to it and pick it up and start it and put it down and come back to it and pick it up, that it will take you as much as 500% of the necessary time to do a task than if you picked it up and carried it through. Alec McKenzie, great time management expert. Alec McKenzie calls this single handling. Once you have made a list of what you have to do, organized your goals, determined the highest and most valuable priority, then pick the most important thing and begin working on it and stay with it until it's finished. Now people say, well, if I stay with this task until it's finished, I won't get anything else done. That doesn't matter. If it's the most valuable thing that you have to do, it's the most important thing that you could be working on. Now it's a wonderful thing. When you concentrate and work intensely on an important task, it gives you a feeling of energy and enthusiasm. When you complete an important task, your self-esteem goes up. You feel like a winner. You feel great about yourself. But if you work away on low priority tasks, even if you complete them and do them well, you don't get any bang for the buck. You don't get any excitement or thrill from doing something that's not important. As a matter of fact, most stress, anxiety, frustration in the world of work today comes from working very hard on irrelevant tasks. Drucker, who said the very worst thing in the world is to do very well what need not be done at all. So concentrate single-mindedly on one task at a time. Do first things first and do things one at a time. Now here's a very simple system that you can use. It is the ABCDE method. A is the things that you must do, top priority. B is the things that you should do, second priority. C is the things it would be nice to do if you've got all your A's and B's done. D stands for delegate, E stands for eliminate. So when you make a list, the first thing you do is you ABC all your list. A, what you must do, B, what you should do, C, what would be nice to do, and then delegate and eliminate the others.
Next time management essential is learn to say no. Boy, it's easy to overload your calendar, get yourself into all kinds of time management problems simply because you didn't have the strength to say no when you should have said no. I'm telling you, in such a social society we have now, it's so easy to try to be a nice person, saying yes, yes, yes to everything. Find yourself overloaded. Now you got to call and make well, gosh, all the time it takes to back out of something that you said yes to too quickly. My friend Ron Reynolds says, don't let your mouth overload your back.
The word no is magic, and the place and the time to use the word no is early and often. It's like the wastebasket. Wastebasket is your best friend when you're sorting the mail. The average person spends 8 months of their life sorting junk mail, reading through junk mail. It's incredible how much of your life is taken up by people who ask you to do things and you do it because of a sense of obligation. Let me tell you, as I said to you before, most people do not value their time, so they don't value yours. Now, how do you deal with a person who you know, who you like, who you respect, who asks you to do something? Very simple. When they ask you to do something or work on a committee or take on a project, say, let me think about it and get back to you. There's an old saying that delay is the cruelest form of denial. If they press you for a decision, say, I cannot make a decision now, I have to think about it. And after you've thought about it for 24 hours, call them back and say, I've thought about it, I simply don't have the time. But thank you very much for thinking about me, and get on with the rest of your life. Now, in time management, the word no is one of the most powerful of all words. It'll save you hours, weeks, months of working on projects that contribute nothing to your goals.
Okay, the next time management essential is
Key result areas. In other words, it is the key results that you have been hired to accomplish for your business. Even if you own your own business, you are still subject to key result areas. And the way that you find out your key result areas is you ask yourself this question over and over again. Why am I on the payroll? What have you been hired to accomplish? Not do, not your tasks and activities, but what results are expected of you? You ask yourself this question. The accomplishment of what results is going to lead to my promotion? How am I going to earn more money? What results do I have to achieve in order to get a raise in salary? What results does my company expect of me? What contribution am I expected to make? And then you say, what are my key results? Another way of looking at it is to remember that every job has a series of functions. And there are secondary functions and primary functions, and they're what is called core functions. So you have to ask, what are the core functions of your job? What are the goals of your job? Now, many people say to me, well, I'm not sure. Do you know what the major reason for stress in the American workplace is today? Is people don't know what's expected. I would say 80 or 90% of people out there do not know what's expected. They're not sure why they're on the payroll. And here's a very simple technique for it. Go to your boss with a list of everything that you do and ask your boss to organize it in order of priority. Say what's number one, what's number two, what's number three, what's A, B, or C. Help him or her organize your list in order of priority and give it back to you. I promise you, you'll be surprised. But why is it that you absolutely have to know why you're on the payroll? It's simply this, is that you cannot perform excellently, you cannot do superior work, you cannot be promoted, you cannot get a raise unless you are doing and doing well the key things that your boss has hired you to do. Have you got me on that? Or have I got you on that? Key result areas are critical, and you have to know every single day. In fact, you know something? One of the major sources of frustration in work is to be working very hard on something and being vaguely uneasy because you know it's probably not important. So keep clear channels of communication with your boss, and if you supervise other people, have them bring to you a list of everything that they do, and you organize it in order of priority and make it clear to every person what their contribution is expected to be. Okay?
the next time management essential is when you work, work, when you play, play. That one I learned the hard way. See, if you're going to put in a day, just put in the whole day. And if you're going to take some time off, take it all off. Right? Take the whole day off. If you're going to work a day, work a good, long, hard day. If you're going to play, play, play all day. Either work all day or play all day. Because guess what? If you're going to knock off at 3 and go play, guess what you're thinking about all morning? Right? Knocking off at 3 o'clock. I mean, it just, you know, it's one of those things. It's hard to zero in, you know, on something and make it productive if you're making plans to do something else. Next time management essential is beware of the telephone. A useful tool, but it can also get you into trouble.
Don't be a slave to the telephone. Telephone is an essential part of our lives, but as we said a little bit earlier, we are conditioned from our teenage years to look upon the telephone as a social tool. It's something that we look forward to getting onto because we associate it with romance and fun and communications with people that are important to us. As adults, however, we have to change our thinking 180 degrees. We have to realize the telephone is a business tool. It's like a computer, it's like a typewriter, it's like a photocopier. It may have other uses, but it's a business tool. So here's the rule with using the telephone. Get on and get off fast. See how fast you can get on and off the phone. Control your telephone calls, as we said before. Let other people, let your telephone calls get batched so that you can call them back and you control the calls. Call back at their lunchtimes. Call back at the end of the day. Call back so you control the time. Now, when somebody calls you and you take the call, Here's the key question. Always ask, what can I do for you? They'll always have a tendency to say, hi, how you doing? How's things going? How's the weather out there? You say, fine, what can I do for you? And get straight to the point of the phone call. Another thing that you can say is, how can I help you? If you're going to be making phone calls, look upon a phone call as a meeting by wire. And what you do is you make an agenda for the meeting. What many people do, if you talk to people all the time, keep a file on that person. And when you think of calling that person, take out the file and work on your agenda. Go down the agenda. When you completed the agenda, you say, thank you very much. I'll let you go now. I know you're busy. And hang up the phone. What do you do with talkative people? Talkative people, you say, excuse me, I've got another call coming. I've got to run. If that doesn't work, you say, my boss is calling me. If that doesn't work, hang up the phone in the middle of the conversation as though the phone line has been cut off. Remember this, is that people are time wasters, and the great majority of people have no goals, they have no priorities, they have no plans, they have no concern about becoming successful, and they think that you're the same. They think because their time isn't worth anything, that your time isn't worth anything also.
Next on time management is read all the books.
Remember this, is that you will always be paid in life for the value of your contribution. And if you want to earn more, you must learn more. And the most successful people are those who are continually taking in new information, continually taking every opportunity to keep current with their profession and to advance their knowledge. Now, it's simple to do this. The basic rule is this. You should or you must spend an hour every day investing in your own mind, investing in yourself. You must take an hour every day and read and study and take notes. Now, here's some of the ways that you can get this extra learning time, this extra working time, this extra personal growth time. First and most important of all is driving or traveling to and from work. If you drive, the average driver today drives 12 to 25,000 miles a year. That's the equivalent of 500 to 1,000 hours a year. That is the equivalent of 12 to 25 40-hour work weeks. That's the equivalent of 3 to 6 months of work weeks. That's 1 to 2 university semesters. You know, the average person, of course, is not you, because the people who watch videotapes like this are usually the cream in any organization or any society. But the average person sits there and listens to the radio all the time. You can become one of the best educated people in your profession simply by listening to audio cassettes, going to and from work or to and from errands. Now, another very important part of transition time is coffee breaks. You know, the average person takes 2 coffee breaks a day, 20 minutes each, 40 minutes a day. 40 minutes a day times 5 days a week is 200 minutes. 200 minutes times 50 weeks a year is 10,000 minutes. 10,000 minutes is 166 hours. Now, what does that mean to you? It means that if you just decide that you're going to read on a particular subject at your coffee breaks for the next year, you will be an expert on that subject before the year is out. Just when you sit down with coffee, make sure that you have something to read, whether it's time management or goal setting or personal communications or your profession. And most people sit there in their coffee breaks and they read the sports page and they don't realize that their life is passing them by. Well, another key element of transition time is lunch times. The average person takes an hour a day. An hour a day times 250 working days a year is 250 hours. 250 hours is 6 full weeks of time that you spend eating lunch. If you just read at your lunchtime and something that will help you grow and advance in your career, if you did nothing but coffee breaks and lunchtime, you'd become one of the best educated people in society within 3 to 5 years. And you know what the average person does? They waste this time. Another important part of transition time, by the way, if you read magazines, instead of carrying magazines, what you do is you read a magazine, tear out all the articles, put it in a file. And whenever you're traveling, keep that file with you. You're sitting waiting for something, you're waiting in a waiting room, you're taking a trip, you have appointments that are canceled, just pull out your file and keep current. Remember, keep taking in more information. Use those, what are called gifts of time. These are gifts of time that are given to us by God, and we can do anything we want with them. But high-performing human beings use those gifts of time as though they were precious, and low-performing human beings do not. Which do you want to be?
The last one here is ask questions. When you get ready to talk to somebody, ask some questions. It might save you a great deal of time. Because it's easy to talk to somebody for an hour and then discover you've been on the wrong subject. Right? Or maybe you're talking to the wrong person. Say, who are you? Oh yeah, John, I forgot. And you're talking about somebody else's problem. No, ask questions. You know, then you can get right to the heart of the matter. And then after you've asked a couple of questions, ask a couple of more. Because you can ask somebody, hey, what's wrong? It's not going well, what's wrong? Guy says, well, I can't seem to get at it. And then you just go on, here's how you ought to get at it and so on, when that's not really the problem. Most people at first don't disclose the real problem. Make sure you learn that in management. Most people at first don't disclose the real problem. They disclose the surface problem. Sometimes the real problem is the problem. Guy says, well, I got some problems at home. Say, oh, that's why you're not getting out there. I've been talking about hitting it when the real problem is something's wrong at home. Let's talk about that. See, just a couple of questions, and you just save yourself an hour. You save yourself talking too long about the wrong things just by asking the question.